At 23:35 on November 14, 1942, deep inside the plot room of USS Washington, radar operators watched green phosphorescent traces bloom across their SG scopes. Japanese warships commanded by Vice Admiral Nobutake Kond were approaching through the blackness. Less than half an hour from bombardment range, Rear Admiral Willis A. Lee, 54 years old, Olympic shooting champion, and the U.S. Navy's foremost radar expert, now held command of the outnumbered American task force. For 2 years he had fought an uphill battle to convince senior officers that radar would revolutionize naval warfare. Most preferred searchlights, optics, and the same visual methods ships had used for 3 centuries. But Lee understood what many admirals did not. The Japanese had no functional fire control radar and relied entirely on night-trained lookouts and optical rangefinders. In complete darkness or rain, their gunners were blind while American ships could detect, track, and fire on enemies they could not even see. The coming battle for Guadalcanal would prove this truth. For 3 brutal months, Marines had clung to a tenuous foothold on the island after capturing a half-finished Japanese airfield on August 7, soon renamed Henderson Field. Whoever controlled its skies controlled the seas, and whoever controlled the seas could reinforce and supply their ground forces. The Japanese knew this and had tried relentlessly to destroy Henderson Field, bombers by day, cruisers and battleships by night, leaving the waters of Iron Batom Sound littered with wrecks from savage nighttime clashes that had already cost thousands of lives. Lee's mission tonight was simple: prevent Henderson Field from being blasted off the map, but everything depended on radar operators flawlessly interpreting the new SG system. Barely 7 months old and still without formal doctrine, Washington's radar team had been training non-stop since entering the Pacific. Operating on 10-centimeter microwaves, the SG set could paint sharp, distinct returns and detect capital ships at over 18,000 yards, far beyond anything Japanese optics could match. Yet it could not identify contacts, was prone to false returns, and demanded trained operators who understood both the machine and naval tactics. No one in the U.S. Navy had yet fought a major radar-guided surface action. Admirals Daniel Callahan and Norman Scott had died days earlier relying on incomplete radar reporting during chaotic night battles. Lee, who had studied radar intensely since 1939, was the one flag officer who truly understood how to integrate it into tactics. Now commanding Task Force 64 Washington, South Dakota, and for destroyers he faced Kond's powerful bombardment force centered on the fast battleship Kirishima, veteran of Pearl Harbor, supported by cruisers, destroyers, and deadly Type 93 Long Lance torpedoes. If Kirishima reached Henderson Field, the Marines would be starved out, and Guadalcanal would fall. At 20-30, Washington's SG radar detected Kond's ships at 18,000 yards. Lee's redesigned communications network bypassing the slow, regulation-bound relay chain sent radar data instantly to gunnery officers and fire control teams. Standing beside Captain Glenn Davis on the bridge, Lee murmured, "Well, stand by, Glenn, here they come." Battle stations sounded. Radar returns sharpened into 3 Japanese groups approaching Savo Sound. The American destroyers Walk, Benham, Preston, and Gwyn charged ahead and opened fire, immediately plunging into a chaotic melee as Japanese destroyers launched long lances. Walk's bow vanished in a single detonation. Preston was hit repeatedly and burst into flame. Benham lost her entire bow to a torpedo, and only Gwyn escaped intact. Behind them, South Dakota suffered catastrophic electrical failures that knocked out her radar and fire control just as Japanese searchlights found her silhouette. In minutes, she took 27 shell hits, her superstructure shredded, her radar destroyed, and 39 crew dead, yet her armor held. The high-explosive Japanese bombardment shells unable to pierce her belt. At midnight, she withdrew, burning but afloat, leaving Washington alone against the entire Japanese fleet. Hidden behind the burning wrecks, unseen by Japanese lookouts, Washington tracked Kirishima at 8,400 yards point-blank range for her 9/16-inch guns. Without a single visual sighting, relying entirely on radar and analog fire control computers. Washington opened fire at 0 o'clock on November 15th. Her 9 2,700-pound shells left the barrels at 2,600 feet per second. 7 seconds later, they tore into Kirishima, smashing her forward turrets, wrecking steering, flooding magazines, and triggering uncontrollable fires. In 7 minutes, Washington fired 75 armor-piercing rounds. Japanese records and later Ballard's 1992 expedition confirmed roughly 20 major caliber hits. Her 5-inch batteries added over 100 more. Kirishima's gunners fired blind, their optics useless, their shells arcing harmlessly over the American battleship. Unable to steer, burning and listing, Kirishima circled helplessly. By 3:25, Captain Iwabuchi ordered abandon ship. She capsized soon after, joining the wrecks of Iron Batom Sound. With Kirishima destroyed, Khan's bombardment mission collapsed. His cruisers and destroyers fled under a screen of torpedoes that Washington, guided by radar, easily evaded. Guadalcanal was saved. What Lee and Washington accomplished reshaped naval warfare forever. Radar-directed fire control had achieved a decisive night victory against a modern fleet. Nimitz immediately accelerated radar installation across the Pacific Fleet and ordered creation of centralized combat information centers so ships could fuse radar, radio, and plotting data in a single nerve center. By 1943, every U.S. warship had one, giving American forces unmatched situational awareness. For Japan, the psychological shock was immense. Years of training in night optics, aggressive tactics, and long-range doctrine were rendered obsolete the instant radar nullified their ability to see. Survivors' reports made clear the terrifying reality. They had been destroyed by an enemy they could not see, firing with impossible accuracy in total darkness. From that night forward, the age of visual naval warfare was over and the age of radar dominance had begun.